I have this new meta persona. His name is Preston Ken Zeng. He's an actor. He's gonna see what he can do in the entertainment industry. So I'm willing to live that social avatar, but I think it's gonna be one that is more sustainable.
Hi everyone, welcome to yet another episode of NewForum. NewForum is powered by Newcoin Foundation, focused on fostering the expansion of decentralized social applications, also known as Social 3.0, by forming an ecosystem and a community of visionaries, creators, and investors. It provides a safe space for thinkers to communicate, inform, and share ideas in order to ensure the conscious and ethical growth of a new web, embedding the values of care, freedom, and creativity.
And in today's episode, we are super excited to have our very own Preston with us. He's a creative director, actor, and creative producer who worked with companies like V-Files and also in the fashion industry. He is also a long-term user of the Newlife App and an associate with Newcoin Foundation. Hey, Preston, we are super excited to have you here today.
Hey guys, good to be here.
I've always been curious, what has been your journey as an actor, creative producer?
I think that's the question on everyone's mind who meets me. It's like, who is he? What does he do? I'm not quite sure. I've always been a creative, and I was working as a casting director, producer in the fashion industry for a long time, and I satirized it on a web platform that's now defunct, I think. And from there, it was kind of an acting job. I was acting as myself, and then I moved on and decided to go more into entertainment with more of intention with having that meta personality continuing. I had to create one to do the original satire, and it became a lot closer to life, which I appreciated. But I also thought, okay, this is done. This is exhausting, and yeah, I've worked with a lot of artists, helped produce installations with a lot of post-internet artists. And through that, I just kind of learned not just about the aesthetics or the commercialization of aesthetics or that dialogue, that cultural dialogue of consumption, but I also learned about how markets work and how ecosystems and financial markets generally work in terms of labor, supply, and demand.
I'm really inspired by your journey, because what I really like about you and your work, you're very authentic and you're really you are yourself, and you're really good with the things that you do in terms of creative production. So right. I want to ask quickly, for the people who don't know, what is a meta persona? You describe me that term so everyone can understand what for you is a meta persona.
I mean, when I was working as a casting director, and once I was, became talent as myself under these strict contracts, and working with artists and, interns and visiting factories and studios and, hanging out with designers, I realized that it's about commodification, whether it's commodification of skills, talents, ideas, or body, or labor. Essentially, it's the commodification of labor. So I decided to take on this as myself, but as a digital version of myself. So I like to think of my meta persona as an avatar, a handle. It's a role. I think a lot of people do it. A lot of people you see in the public, whether they're politicians or a spokesperson, they're on a script. You know what I mean? There's a very, 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 it's a very particular way of communicating, and there's a team behind it, and they're incentivized to help that commodity benefit others, whether through consumption of that commodity or for whoever that owns that commodity. So I decided that I wanted to take on real life institutional industries as that commodity and being transparent about how that works.
So I'm interested to know, so what's the blend of your online identity with your personal identity, and what benefits does it have to have a, to have a meta persona? I think you chat a bit about it, but if you could kind of explain it more.
Was a decade ago, you wouldn't find a picture of me on the internet. I didn't even have a laptop at that point. I had no social media. But then when Web 2.0 started becoming a thing, I kind of accidentally jumped on it. I was asked to be shadowed during a New York Fashion Week about, the casting process, because, I thought it was going to be educational for people to have a kind of off the cuff, very natural behind the scenes look at how the images that we see are being made. And I thought it was going to be more of a documentary. And once we started filming, I realized, wait, the cameraman's asking me to do that again, or can you say that again? Can you do it this way? Da, 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 da. And I thought, why do I have to open up to the camera? You're the cameraman. You have to shadow me and follow me. And that's when I realized I was wasting hours of my time, footage, and it was actually hurting my real job, since they're shadowing me on my job. It became a little bit more scripted just to ease the production. And that kind of turned into something kind of funny and entertaining. And from there, I realized, wow, people like me a lot more when I'm this opened up, framed character a caricature of myself than actually me. So I went along with it, and we came up with some really fun stuff, some good stuff. I didn't really take it that seriously. If anything, I thought that it would help my producer, my casting career in fashion. And maybe it did, I don't know, or maybe it hurt my career, but it became more about taking on these jobs. So we had more material for these videos that were going online, for these satirical videos. And yeah, I admit that I was totally down for the drama and sabotage that actually happens behind the scenes in real life. I'm like, let's reframe it for an audience with some humor. And yeah, that's when things got really blurred. And that's when I realized, you know what, maybe I should find another form of employment.
I don't know why, but it just came to my mind, there is this really famous actor, Jim Carrey, and he's so natural on camera, when he started out with acting, and now later on he realized, okay, there's actually the psychological thing behind what happened with him during this recording and acting can really be a mental drain sometimes for the person. And like you said, there's things like contracts and roles that you have to play that people don't see, and they just see the perfect image and the fun in front of the camera. My next question also is on that, what is kind of the downside of being an internet personality, aka being an influential person, an actor, something like you do?
I think my approach into it was a little bit, it wasn't just me, it was a team. And it was kind of understood that it was a social experiment. We were going to act like Preston was this personality, this celebrity or whatever before he even was. And basically coming up with this meta persona, this avatar to catch up to the fiction that we made up. I was never an influencer. Like I said, I didn't have an Instagram or Facebook. The team started those accounts under my persona. So I definitely don't think I qualify as being, a super influencer in that sense. And also, I didn't have a following. I wasn't big on, 4chan or whatever, Reddit or subreddits. I was not an internet person. I saw the growth of my virality online in internet culture happen, and it was very much a public relations stunt that just kept going. It was a lie that we kept having to lie, and it was actually working. And I found that quite isolating and strange and very, very surprised. Part of me was definitely disappointed in the consumer, the audience, but a part of me found it really fascinating. And I really wanted to reflect on that. What does that mean? You know what I mean? what does that mean when you are celebrated in the press, or suddenly your social cultural capital has increased when you haven't really done anything? You know what I mean? You just had to change your personality online, and then boom.
Quite deep, and like you're touching on such strong points.
Oh,
And
and to add another layer to it, I didn't own that meta persona.
and on top of that, you didn't even own that. Like that is,
Yeah.
I don't even have words. But
I was put through the ringer because I would be approached by some of the largest entertainment agents in the world globally to represent me. And they were like, we're going to put you in our influencer division. And they realized, wait, you're not an influencer. And then the thing is, I wasn't allowed to sign those papers because they wanted to hire Preston, the persona, the meta persona, not Preston, the guy providing the labor. I didn't own that persona, and basically they wanted some ownership of that persona to exploit as a commodity, but they didn't want me. That was really strange. And so they're just kind of like, so you're like an actor? It's like, yeah. And then they're like, what have you been in? I'm like, everything that you're interested in. And they're like, yeah, but that's not, so are you an influencer? Like, what are you? So I think I really, by happenstance, deconstructed this idea of commodity and presentation and got stuck in a lot of the legal stuff of it. Yeah.
As you're speaking, I don't know why this thought just popped up. Attention economy, and we're seeing it in some form even today. People go viral in a day, in a second, and you're just suddenly this celebrity kind of person, and all you did was maybe ate something that nobody would eat, and then everybody's like following you, celebrating you. And behind the scenes, the question is, what's the value? Like, how do you feel as a person, when you go viral, when your persona is out there and is being celebrated in comparison to who you really are, and I wonder what goes through people's mind. And I think this is one of the reasons why I'm really excited about Web3, the focus being on value versus this attention, and it's just something that's and also, like you touched on, this whole contracts and legal stuff, and I think Web3 offering decentralization, giving you the chance to own your data, your privacy, and all of that, I think is really, really important. And I just wonder how people feel, because sometimes we don't think about the fact that behind this persona that we see on maybe Instagram or whatever web social platform, you see someone always happy, you see them looking their best and perfect, but the question is like, what's really going on,
Well, the question is very, I think every performer probably, or anyone in media or who works in an industry where your work is on display has that question. I realized really fast that I wasn't worth anything. My labor really actually wasn't worth much. The persona, the cultural capital, that persona, that my meta persona brought more. If anything, I was writing his perks. I wasn't getting the perks. To be honest, I hate to turn it to a dark direction, but fine. You have trolls that control that persona behind comments online. People could write articles. People could write at Tumblr or Medium.com, whatever, disparaging that persona. That's fine. But it's when the trolls find out where you live, when they contact your family members. You know what I mean? So I was paying for a lot of the IRL stuff that came with the perks of this persona. And I was kind of, I don't know, just left me a bit disappointed and disenchanted that, I have stalkers. I guess I made it, but yeah, it was really, really, I felt exploited. It felt very exploitative. I don't think anyone that I worked with is out to exploit me, but I don't think there was much of an incentive to be a little bit more ethical about it.
I was just thinking, would you say this is the major issue with creative jobs and the social media world? I guess that's pretty much what we're kind of talking about.
I think 2.0 was kind of more about virability, like likes, followers. That was the commodity, which I didn't really have that much. I had press, but I don't know how valuable that is when people don't really read the press. People get their information from, Instagram or TikTok or Twitter, not from, a newspaper or a magazine anymore.
I quickly want to say something that came to my mind. It's, that can also last for a very short period of time. Like if you have like a viral stunt, or if you are like a viral person, that might last you like maybe a couple years, and then another trend is going on if you're riding that trend wave. And I see that a lot in the music industry. I had the experience where I was offered a contract as well within music, and they wanted me to do the music they wanted to do, and they wanted me to put on a certain image and to change kind of like my image to that, as you would say, meta persona, and like all my Instagram, everything had to be like catered to that persona, and catered to that like person. And they would say like, oh, okay, next video we want to do it this way, so it goes viral, like there's. So, and I remember I was like having this one song that really popped on SoundCloud, but I wasn't like, I honestly wasn't excited at all. Like I felt like kind of like I was like, because I liked music and stuff, but I didn't really, it felt kind of wrong. It just felt like that isn't me, or that is not like, even though it got the attention and it got like, it could have gotten me like in the door, I was like this feels kind of like off to me, so well, I feel like music is like kind of like that, like you want to, I don't know, I feel like also with the labels there, you're so hungry for getting that attention, or you want to be in that space, you want a creative job, or you want to be in that space with these people, but then that's the price you pay, or it's a struggle. And I think Web3 is more about the community, like about the community you can build, and really about also, how you can own these things, you can distribute. So yeah, that's what I see, at least in acting and music.
I think what I went through was I wasn't young, okay? The intention of my meta persona was for it to expire. I did it was kind of a joke to me. That was the whole point, was that it was not a real persona, a person. It was a persona. So it was made to be obsolete, that was part of it. And I was totally down with that, except, and I was older. Yeah, I wasn't trying to be an actor. I wasn't trying to get viral. I wasn't trying to be an influencer. I just thought that it was attention that would help me as a producer, behind the camera. And the funny thing is that it kind of didn't end up that way. I kind of got into this, it's really funny how it's like a very boomer thing, crossover talent. I was supposed to cross over from the digital world to like the real entertainment world, which are these institutions like Hollywood. You know what I mean? And that was not what I planned, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to cross over onto a larger, more mainstream institutional platform as that persona. It wasn't worth it for me. That was not what it was intended for, but there was pressure. There was a lot of pressure because it was going to make other people money. And that's when I kind of found my value as a person was not the persona, as a person was, I can choose not to do this. I could choose to disappear, and you could find someone else. Good luck. Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, it's about trust and incentivization. And in this case, like I said before, no one was out to exploit or intentionally, fuck me over, but they had no incentives not to, because that trust wasn't really steady. There was no way of tracking that. There was no way of protecting someone like me. It creates an environment of where people don't have the incentive for ethical treatment of labor. They will exploit it, and that's just how it is. And I think that when you have a community and you can build trust between each other, where things are a little bit more transparent and we're all on the same page, I think that actually protects the people participating in it.
Also, like what you just said about that's just what it is. Like, you know, people, if you enter these industries, it's just like that's how you have to kind of deal with it, or that's like kind of the use case, the norm. So yeah, I think Web3 is really great for disrupting that, or just taking back your ownership and doing it yourself. You know, what do you think is the potential with like social avatars, like social identities, and maybe on the metaverse or in Web3?
I think when it comes to, what I've learned from 2.0 is, yes, people like these avatars. Sometimes they know they're not even real, and that's fine. They don't care. You know what I mean? As long as it satiates whatever reason they give it attention towards. Hopefully with 3.0, I'm thinking is that people could be a little bit more, how do I say this? I noticed with viral popularity, it's like a win all take all situation where there's this super influencer and they have millions of followers and everyone's following them. You know what I mean? This is not new. This happens in the stock market. This happens in any type of trading. You know what I mean? I think with 3.0, it's what about the people who might have less than a few million? You know what I mean? Are they able to create their own communities? And, where's the value? You know what I mean? Why is someone with like 5 million followers more valuable than someone who's worth only 1 million followers? And let's flip that. You know what I mean? I think there's a way to do that. Hopefully 3.0 could flip that dynamic, because it's about attention, and the attention already has value there. So let's learn this technology that we're going to be talking about. I think has a way to incentivize where there are more fair distribution of that wealth, that value, and for individuals to utilize that value.
I think blockchain technology is definitely disrupting all of these like challenges that creators face, and having control of your data, and being able to receive recognition and rewards for what you're worth, right? And I think that this is really great, and we're looking forward to it evolving to that point where it's more accessible. And I have this question. So if you look back to, I guess, your life as a creator, as an artist, what would you have done differently? Because we've chatted a lot about challenges and like thinking about all these tools that Web3 offers and just everything you've experienced. If you could go back in time, what would you have done differently? I think blockchain technology is definitely disrupting all of these like challenges that creators face, and having control of your data, and being able to receive recognition and rewards for what you're worth, right? And I think that this is really great, and we're looking forward to it evolving to that point where it's more accessible. And I have this question. So if you look back to, I guess, your life as a creator, as an artist, what would you have done differently? Because we've chatted a lot about challenges and like thinking about all these tools that Web3 offers and just everything you've experienced. If you could go back in time, what would you have done differently?
I think if I could go back, looking at it in retrospect, I think I thought my value lied in the legitimization of other larger institutions. They're the ones that were going to pay me. Those were the ones that were going to get me more work. Those were the ones that were going to build me up. And yeah, I'm worth being paid this. I'm worth being paid that. Fine, yeah, I'm not an idiot. But looking back on it, I wish I knew that my labor and my input didn't necessarily need to be legitimized by that to get paid. That I wish there was a way that I could have owned that persona a little bit more, and I didn't. I kind of was okay with them owning my likeness, my sounds, my hair length, my hair color, and using it as a trading chip, which I had no say in it. And I didn't really own it. I would be given a commission, for showing up, but I did not own the negotiations or how to play those cards, So in retrospect, I wish it was set up in a way where it wasn't so, pyramid, and it was more even. And that's probably the reason why I didn't realize my worth until I realized I could just disappear. I mentioned earlier about trust. I think with smart contracts, you could trust a contract. You don't necessarily need to trust everyone involved, but people are going to be held accountable. You know what I mean? And it's whether this person checks in at this time and leaves at that time, works this many hours, or what profits are being made and how that's being redistributed. That's on the ledger. You can't change that. If you want to change that, there's going to have to be a group of people in the community participating and seeing if that's okay. And if I had access to that back then, I would have had a lot of things change or would have continued.
So I think that the idea of automated smart contracts can really save a lot of creators in this case, because before you start working, you already have the smart contract where like you said, the numbers don't lie, so everyone in the community can double check this contract, can double check, that this is like how much percentage this person gets before anything. And oftentimes I feel like what I hear from people working in creative industries is like they get paid even like 3 months after, so if you're a freelancer, if you're a model or anything, oftentimes you're there and you're kind of like waiting like for 3 months or for 6 months, and it's kind of like what I hope Web3 can, and smart contracts in particular, can automate.
Well, I also think the great thing about smart contracts are that it's the automation. Is that what you call it? A lot of times there's like these legalese going on, and you have an agent or a broker, and they're all handling it, and it's all gets confusing for that one individual that's being exploited through the whole process. I think once we agree on the terms that everyone is cool with, so when you confirm that person, when that person gets on camera, all that legalese is done under the understanding that we all have agreed to it, and it's on the ledger. You know what I mean? It's there, because I think a lot of times people just kind of throw paperwork behind the scenes. You know what I mean? And of course, they take large accounts a lot more serious. But if it's like something it's not scalable, like they're that important, again, even if you're making less, or it's a lesser project compared to like $1 million like commercial, to like just a photo shoot, you know what I mean? It should be tracked. I think it offers a layer of protection, and I think just the automation just makes it a lot less messier, and it doesn't create these accidental loopholes for exploitation to happen. The way it works now is we trust that people make the right decision and do the right thing, and that's not guaranteed. It's not covered. With smart contracts, I think, we could troubleshoot how this happened, why this happened. It's not going to continue until, all of these terms are fulfilled.
Definitely. I mean, smart contracts can definitely, like you said, help define rules. And I mean, it's obviously similar to our regular contract, except that it's like automatically enforced, via the code, and it cannot be deleted by default, and so what it's on there is it's irreversible in a sense. And so, I think it protects the weak, kind of, and I really like that. And most creators, like you said, people are like hustling, and they just want to be able to pay bills and take care of stuff. And so sometimes it's easy for creators to go artists, especially to get exploited, but with smart contracts. And I think another major, another major technology in Web3 that I really love is DAOs,
I love
exactly. And I think that's going to be a game changer. And I'm not sure if you have any ideas of how that can bridge most of these challenges that we've been discussing, like in the creator economy.
I think the DAO seems pretty foolproof. Let's put it in practice, and I think a DAO could be very scalable. We could, like I said before, we could work with DAOs. People can create their own DAOs for their own team, their own creative team that they work with when they take on an account, for example. I think, again, it's about trust. And it's not about trusting each other. It's about trusting the terms that we're all signed up for. And I think it allows accountability. I was lucky enough that I was a bit older. I'd worked behind the scenes and I know how to read contracts, specifically those type of contracts. I made the mistake that I didn't take it seriously. But I'm fine. But I imagine like a young person, a person who doesn't really speak English, someone that doesn't have a support system backing them, how and what are they going to sign? And depending on how vulnerable they are, how much are they going to be exploited, and who's going to take accountability for that? For the most part, no one does. You know what I mean? The laws aren't there. So, the 16-year-old signed that release to, whatever. Or you get an internship and you decide the shoe you designed, you didn't get paid for that design, you're an intern, and that becomes a shoe of the season for a luxury brand, And as creatives, and when you're collaborating with people, you want everyone to have some ownership of that collaboration or that team. Because if you own part of that work, you're going to make it very good. You want to generate even more value out of that piece of work because that benefits you. It gives you incentive. You know what I mean? At the same time, protecting people, those involved.
For me, I also think about all these models who are like, getting visas to go to other countries because some agency promises them like that they're gonna, they're probably good. Like there's so many models who are so talented and good models, but then I think about like they have to sign these contracts where they live in like apartments with like 10 people and they, sometimes the work conditions might not be the best and you're like 15 or 16 or I don't even know. Right. I'm just thinking that the DAO or these things can really protect people.
It's about equality. It's about treating people like people and respecting people's talent and legitimacy. I don't want to get political on this at all, but there's always this idea that you have to get the higher ups validation to legitimize yourself, and that's why I said in retrospect, I wish I had known how much value I had without seeking it from the higher ups for them to exploit me. And I'm pretty, educated. I'm from a privileged first world country. I speak English. I was a little bit older when I got in front of the camera. So, I worked in production. I knew how that stuff worked behind the scenes, and I still got exploited, And I think that there's these talks of NFTs and, DAOs, and people are like, whoa, I'm confused. And, if we had a way of doing it, it was just a click. Like we all know how to click a damn mouse, you know what I mean? It's like we click mice, feet, tap all the time. I just really think of it as easy as, placing an Amazon order, that's all it requires. We have the technology to protect people with it.
This idea of being exploited or creates this, the the creator economy as we know it. Okay, I mean it's changing, but yeah, there's still a lot that needs to be worked on, and we have all these like immigrants, right? Who, even let's just say students who travel abroad, go to school, and you go for an internship, and obviously people know, the company knows you're a foreigner, you need a visa, you need all these things. And so you get really exploited and you have to work a dozen times harder, and in the end, nothing, nothing could come out of it. It's really complicated, and most people work really hard, travel, go abroad, go to school, go through an internship, and they get promised, and in the end, nothing comes out of it. They have no money and they have to go back to their home countries, and I think that, how can we bridge this? And I think a DAO is something that could help. And also this idea of self-sovereignty that Web3 offers to creators, I think it's really powerful, because if you own your own data, your own privacy, and you're protected by these smart contracts, then it's not so easy for someone to exploit you. You know what I mean? And you are able to know your value, because if not, like you said, if you look back, you wish you had known your value more, I'd say, in a sense. But how can you, when you're just thinking about when the structure is already like, how'd you say it? It's the way it is. It's almost like if you can't beat them, you join them, right? But now, thankfully, things are the new technologies coming is bringing that change, and we really hope for the best. We really hope that it disrupts this creator economy. And yeah, and then just before I end my point, you were talking about like internships and designing and not like getting any credit. Like it happens a lot. When you're an intern, you're just in the back somewhere doing amazing work, and nobody will ever know that you did anything.
Industry relies on the labor of interns and a lot of
interns.
Stealing ideas, which ideas, that's another thing about copyright and all that stuff. That's a whole other conversation. But I do think an NFT, a DAO, could definitely change the game if people are going to be held accountable for it, because just people who are going to own it and have an incentive to make it the best and do good work. And also, I own that. You can't just take it. You could use it, but you have to get some credit for it. You know what I mean? I think it just creates just some transparency that protects people. Again, it protects commodities, whether it's your labor, your body, your time, your talent, your output. Even for personas that are meta and fictitious.
I think if creators know the tools from the beginning, like if you go into work and know from the beginning, okay, I have these rights and I have these options and I have this, then they can set a higher standard, because you see that with working from home. Everyone in the pandemic, they had to leave the office and work from home, and now people are saying, wait a minute, like I want to keep this. Like, so if we say, like, if the creators all say, like, we set the standards and these are the standards that we're going to work under, I think that then it can work. And I really hope that these things, like you said, like the pyramid where, the top person always gets paid the most, like I hope that DAOs can equal that. And I know that right now we are not there in Web3. It's still like very like winner takes it all, I say, in crypto in some cases, but I think long term we can set these structures, if we really want to. Like we can really say, okay, you know what, we are like this many people and these are the standards we set, and yeah, we have the power because we are more people, or we are
freelance or like creative work, especially if it's competitive, because of this pyramid scheme. It's the ones up here who choose, you know what I mean? And that creates their value within that ecosystem. And basically everyone at the bottom over here, we're all toxic assets. Like none of us are intrinsically worth more than the next, and they just throw us all out there, and the one that sticks is the one that gets to go to the next level.
What do you define as like ownership for you as like Like in an example of like your meta persona, for example.
I think that, you know, if someone wants to, you know, print a picture of me and put it on a t-shirt, I should probably get, you know, a piece of that, a portion of that. That should be established before. Do you know what I mean? And it should be automatic. I don't think I should have to run after money that's mine. You know, when I was younger, when I was in my late teens, 20s, I did some test shoots. I, you know, never saw the pictures, whatever. It wasn't paid, it was a test. And I would go to Japan and see myself on a billboard. Whatever I'm selling Photoshop in there, and I would be thinking, I can get paid for that. And I'm still not going to get paid for that from all the profits. And, you know, wow, I get to be on the billboard. I didn't even know I was on until I saw it myself. You know what I mean? So yeah, that needs to stop. That needs to stop.
This really great girl from the States, I think her name is Jade Jawanga or something. She is like an entrepreneur and she runs a media agency, and she said exactly that in a podcast. She said the thing that's wrong with the creative economy is that she had to go into debt for one time because she wanted to pay her employees and she didn't get paid from the contractors, you know, and so she had to pay everything out of her own pocket and had to live on bare minimum for a couple months till she got paid. And I was like, and she's like a 7-figure entrepreneur, or she's also a YouTube star or something. So it's like, I'm like, what if she is even on that level and things are going on like that? I'm like, what is this mess? Like, why is this not automated? And why are companies not?
Well, like kids, like
interns.
I made interns. I'm broke eating like, you know, 25-cent ramen. I go on Instagram and they're using that money going on vacations.
I really think there has to be a paradigm shift here, because creators are used to this mindset, you know, and thinking about internships. I remember just being associated with this fashion brand that I had dreamt of, and while I was in fashion school, I was like dreaming about them, and that's all I thought about, just being associated with them, just being there and even seeing the designs and all of that. And I didn't think so much about the fact that, oh, I'm not getting paid, or I think we need to know our worth. It boils back down to that. Like, yeah, Web3 is going to disrupt and do a lot of great things, but it has to come from within, you know, because it's people and machines communicating. And so we, in a sense, we are the ones setting the tone, you know, and it has to do with our values, you know, things have to be more ethical, the vision, the mission, everything. And I think that if we don't do it from here and here, it's, in the end, we're going to get back to the same thing.
Interns create all the collections that we see in fashion. It's like a very soft, implicit form of gaslighting before you even get there. You beat out hundreds of others to be in this position. You are lucky to be here. If you don't like it, we'll replace you.
Exactly.
So you do your best work and you don't get credit for it. You feel lucky that you got to work for them for 3 months. You know what I mean? And you're broke and they stole your idea and you didn't make any money off of it because their prestige trumps over your work and labor and time.
And what I think is worse is like your name is not on it. You know, you made an original piece and it's under their name, and you might be like a great designer and they have the name on it, you know.
Exactly. So, as creators, we need to think about the value we're bringing to the world. We need to know our worth, you know, and when it starts from there, and then we can use these amazing tools that Web3 offers to make that actually happen. But if it doesn't happen from here and here, then how's it, you know, what's the point? You know, you're just going to be following something that you don't really
a lot of great talent gets lost, and a lot of great ideas we'll never see come to fruition.
Exactly.
Because someone's too broke to work for free.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I just really, back to what you were saying about you should feel lucky to be there. Especially for a young person starting out, especially a creative person who's not really about books and numbers, you know, all that implicit that culture of implicit gaslighting kind of creates this, your value for yourself as labor, as a commodity. You become kind of, you know, you get imposter syndrome. Like, oh, I shouldn't be here. Like, is this good enough? Like, no, you know what I mean? And they make you feel like that, yeah, you are definitely not good enough and you could be replaced. And the truth of the matter is, maybe you're not, but you should still be fucking protected until they replace you.
Yeah, that's powerful. But yeah, these are real issues, and it's psychologically affecting creators. You know,
or, you know, I've had many internships in the fashion industry where I got fired. I mean, I loved the internship. I thought they liked me, and they fired me because I wasn't cute enough. I think that if I had some ownership of what I was producing and making, they would hire people with stricter standards, and they wouldn't be so quick to fire me for not being cute enough.
All these things, like all these like experiences we share now, it's just like there should be better working protection for things, you know.
Like most of the time, most of these I'd say successful luxury fashion brands or famous popular, they see that they're not paying you, but the value they think they're giving you is the fact that you get to put their name on your resume or CV, and you get to be exposed to all these, like, I don't know, like celebrities, or learn these skills that you wouldn't necessarily gain at school. And so this is kind of what they use, because sometimes, yes, maybe some people do know their worth when they get into these exploitive like situations, but they're like, well, I really want to get real world experience. I really want to learn the techniques, and sometimes that's what drives them, and you know, and they just do it and hope that they can get a better job and these experiences. And funny enough, some of these fashion houses or whatnot, or companies in general, will hire you if you have a certain amount of internships done, or certain amount of work experience, or certain amount of this and that. So you're trying to meet all these things, and sometimes you just feel like, oh, I'm working towards this. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and so it can break and crush you if in the end you realize there's no light and you went through all that. But some people do end up, I'd say, succeeding in a sense. One thing I struggle with, but then I like about Web3 is the anonymity, or the fact that people can be anonymous, right? I think regardless of who you are, where you are, your religion, your whatever, you can still get work. You can still gain value for your work. You can still own your work. And I love that. Of course, there's the dark side where you're wondering who's behind. Could that person be a scammer? But the point is, do your research, be careful. Don't just give everything out to just anyone, information to anyone. But I think that I like that as well. And it's so heartbreaking that, you know, somebody will look at you and just replace you just because you don't look like what they want.
They want to,
maybe this is this is
So-
gonna be a different topic, and we probably don't want to dive into that, but there are a lot of like issues and a lot of things that wherever humans are, there's gonna be good and bad. And so we hope that we all do our part, and I always say, like, find a balance and play our role in making sure that we make this world a better place. You're sort of protected by a community. You know, you have people you can, you know, get feedback from, you can share ideas with, you feel like you have support. And I really love that about Web3, and I really hope that we really develop that well and we keep it ethical. And I think that would be really great. And like, honestly, this has been really great, and you've said a lot of amazing things. Thank you so much for for being transparent. Like, you said it as it is, and I think this is really good for young creators or people who are like developers, investors, and all these people within Web3 to see that we're onto something great, and we should think about the intention really matters as to the problem we're trying to solve, and not let it be so much about financial gains. And so before we let you go, I know today's your birthday.
Today's my birthday, guys.
I wanted to know, what are you looking forward to in the future? And if you have any few words you'd like to, or like a takeaway you'd like to leave with our young creators coming up out there.
I think 2022 this year for me is, after a couple of years of reflecting during the pandemic, I kind of loved it. I got to really, really sit down with myself for the last couple of years. And I think a lot of people felt the same way of like, what's a job? What's the point? What is this? What really matters? And for me, it is knowing my own value and stepping into the world, expecting people to understand that. And if, I have this new meta persona. His name is Preston Ken Zeng. He's an actor. He's gonna see what he can do in the entertainment industry. So I'm willing to live that social avatar, but I think it's gonna be one that is more sustainable, definitely, and less exploitive. And I think that's the only way that we could troubleshoot to make what we want of 3.0 more effective, efficient, better.
Thank you so much, Preston. And where can our listeners find you?
At 4_ Preston Ken Zeng. Preston Ken, usually that pulls me up immediately. But thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, Preston. I hope you really can enjoy your birthday. I quickly want to say, I think you're super brave, and you choose to step towards fear, and you embrace challenges, and you're not afraid to step into unknown territory. And I think that's really admirable about you, and keep that within you. I want to thank everyone who was watching this episode. I think it was really good, really getting down the tea of the creative industry. And if you guys want to get more involved within our community, make sure to follow us also on Instagram and Twitter. We are NewForum_NCO and also NewCoin, and we have a private Telegram group where we discuss everything within our community, what's happening. And I'll also make sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode of NewForum. And thank you, Salimi. Thank you, Preston. And I hope we can have another chat at some point. And have a great day.